up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the
Geek Buddies.
Hey! Listen, the world is going crazy out there, but this is your safe haven to relax, sit back, have a drink, and enjoy us talking about stuff from the world of geekdom and from the world of nerddom here on the Geek Buddies. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching us or listening to us on the podcast feed, which you can always do. We got so much to get into here. A bunch of new trailers dropped over the last 7 days since we did our last show, a few days since we did our last show. And there's a bunch of stories here dropping about Daredevil, about Fantastic Four. There was a new trailer for that. We also had new stuff going on with Clayface, and we're going to jump into our main topic, which is this excerpt from the Hollywood Reporter article recently about power struggles within a lot of companies in Hollywood and how Carrie, Beck, and Dave Filoni are possibly going to be the co-heads of Lucasfilm to replace Kathleen Kennedy, who will, of course, still be executive producing a new trilogy, apparently. So we got so much to get into here in the world of geekdom, but let's introduce ourselves. I am John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies.
I am Michael Vogel, writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies.
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm an animation writer and a television actor, but for the next 13 days, I am officially on vacation. So
This will be the last we get of Shannon unless we do a ship to shore type of transmission for a couple of weeks. So we will see if it'll be just Mike and I carrying on. If we bring in some special guests, we will see. But yes, Shannon McClung, last show before he takes off on a fun little trip there.
Well, you're gonna have a little bit of overlap. I leave a week from Monday.
Yeah.
I leave a week from Monday for Prague and Paris and parts unknown. So it's a Geek Buddy vacation season.
Yeah, it is. It is, except for me, of course. But yes, I love the fact that you guys are going to go and enjoy yourselves and relax all across the world. And we'll figure out as things go on over the next 2 weeks who we can bring in to have some fun on the Geek Buddies. But we got so much to get into, as I said. So, Shannon, I think you're starting us off here with some trailers.
I am with trailers. Since it's my last episode for a little while, we're going to do 4. But all these trailers are things that these two gentlemen are super excited about. We're going to start with our first look at the sequel to Wicked for Good. So they were teasing this earlier in the week. We started to see some looks for the characters, and we get this new trailer, on the back of the film that globally did almost $800 million, bunch of Academy Award nominations. We get the trailer for this film. And for the uninitiated who have not seen the musical, maybe have only listened to the music, this is parts unknown right now. We're getting more Glenda. We're getting more Elphaba. We're getting to see Fiyero become Prince Fiyero become the lead of a hunting party that's supposed to go after Elphaba, but maybe they're not. We get more Jeff Goldblum, we get more Michelle Yeoh, and we get musically something that doesn't quite pack the punch of Defying Gravity from the first trailer, but still visually it was splendid. So why don't we throw it over to the guy who I know is excited about this, despite that heavy eye roll. Mr. Vogel, what did you think of our first look at Wicked for Good?
I think that pretty much sums up Shannon, where if you have a big and bombastic song, he's going to love it. But if it's one of the most popular songs from the show that's actually about emotion, he doesn't got time for it. I was all about this trailer, obviously. There was a gay countdown text going last night as we all counted down towards the trailer coming out, and then we watched it several times, and I'm watching this trailer several times knowing full well of most of what's happening, not everything. There's a couple shots that not quite sure what it is, like what they've added, what's going to be changed, but for the most part I was just very excited. I think that I predicted that Wicked 1 was going to cross $1 billion. It did not, but given the response to this trailer yesterday when it dropped, I do think Wicked 2 is going to cross $1 billion. I think that there was a lot of people, some of my geek buddies included, who weren't 100% sure about Wicked 1 until they went to go see it, and then it blew them away. And I even said this on Twitter. For me, seeing, we've talked about this a lot. In the past few years, musicals have not done as well at the box office as they have done traditionally. And Wicked definitely defied gravity in that sense. And so seeing this trailer have a response that is on par with a trailer like for an epic, huge superhero franchise was really, really fun to see. It was also really fun to watch Mr. John Rocha's reaction video, since he doesn't know what's going on. And it's very fun for me to not tell John certain things that I know are going to be happening, so I can just wait and see his reaction, which is almost as fun as anything else.
That's the story.
Now, Johnny,
yes,
you and I were the ones that were not totally sold on the comedic abilities of Ariana Grande, and not only did she prove us wrong, she proved many people wrong, all the way to an Academy Award nomination. Are you more excited for Wicked for Good than you were for Wicked?
Oh, yeah, I would say so for sure, especially after this trailer. My God. And look, a lot of people say it, Michael, I hope you can confirm this, that the second half of the show isn't as strong as the first half. So they've got a little bit of a boulder to be pushing up the hill to fix some of the things that maybe didn't work in the second half of the show fully in the original production. And clearly, when you look at the runtime for both of these movies, it is already way longer than the original Broadway production. So there's going to be new scenes. They're going to flesh out. And they made some changes in the first Wicked, from what I read and what I understand, to some of the scenes, and changing who's singing. A couple of things were who's singing what, or how they're starting off, and the wizard dancing. So they add stuff where they felt they needed to. And given the track record from Wicked, John M. Chu clearly, and the creators clearly, knew where to add and where to adjust things to make it work. So I have a lot of faith. The images we got here are amazing. I mean, the poster that says run, and then her, our wizard lies, that kind of stuff is really awesome. And you're seeing, as Michael's watched my reaction, but you're seeing more of the Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz characters. I don't know if they're going to play more of a role. And you're seeing clearly that they have turned her into an evil witch for their purposes. But seeing that Elphaba and Glinda did not necessarily say goodbye to each other at the end of Wicked, and there will be more of them working together, I had this hypothesis, and I don't know if this is true, that she stages her death to Dorothy in order to make it look like she died, and the wizard is feeling safe and comfortable, and then her and Glinda have their own plans for the wizard and Madame Marble after Dorothy and her crew leave. So I got a lot of ideas going through my head on this one, and a lot of people responded on my reaction saying, like, dude, she's dead. She died. She's dead. All right. And I'm just like, I'm just saying, I don't know. So I liked it. And visually, it's sumptuous is the word I used. And I stand by it. It's amazing. This trailer was amazing.
See, if you guys know Wicked, you already know what I'm talking about. Watching Johnny watch this movie is going to be very exciting.
Yeah, and I also thought the trailer was great. I mean, again, I am happy to eat my words when I am wrong about something, and I was 100% wrong about Ariana Grande's ability. Watching where the relationship was left off at the end of the first movie, I am super excited to see how they come back together, but also the fact that Glinda's like meeting up with Elphaba on the sly. I mean, that is so interesting to me, and again, just provides so much rich storytelling ground. I am very, very curious to see this, even though it didn't have the bombastic quality of Defying Gravity. I guess this song has a lot of emotion. I'll take Michael's word for it. Mikey, do you have anything to add? Other than another heavy eye roll?
Oh God, but I do love eye rolling at you. No, I do. To John's point, you know, I don't think it's that the second act of Wicked isn't good. I do think, but like to what people's not as strong. I think that where the second act of Wicked isn't as strong is in the songs. To Shannon's point, that's what people say. Like it does. Like the first act of Wicked does have Wizard and I, What Is This Feeling, Popular, Dancing Through Life, Defying Gravity. The songs in the second half of Wicked are more emotional, but not necessarily the ones that everybody remembers. So I do think it makes sense that they've added two new songs to the second movie. I also think, and this is where it's going to be interesting, it's not that Dorothy and the Scarecrow and the Tin Man and the Lion aren't referenced in the second act, but the second act has a lot of stuff that's happening just off stage. The second act kind of focuses on things and kind of shows you the stuff they want to show you, but there's a lot of talk of things, and there's things that feel really big, and they showed them as well as they could on stage. So I think the really exciting thing about Wicked for Good, and you can already see it in things like this animal stampede and all the things that they have in here, like there's going to be things in this second half of the movie where they really get to bring the action, the adventure, all of those kind of things that you can only sort of hint at on stage to life in a really, really big way. So I have a feeling that even for people who are big lovers of the musical, the second half is going to have even more big surprises and more big set pieces that we're not expecting than even what we got in the first one.
Yeah, two things real quick. It almost sounds like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead, where you're watching that play, but the Hamlet play is going on around them. And the second thing, I would recommend people going to Playbill and reading Playbill's breakdown of the trailer, because they add 11 particular Easter eggs that they found in the film compared to the production. So I think that was a really informative thing to read. So if you guys want to learn more about that stuff, I would highly recommend you head on over to Playbill to read their breakdown of it.
Also, I do think that, just given where we are in the world right now, a movie about two people that were friends and had a big falling out, and we wondered if they're going to get back together again, just given where we are on the internet today and in American politics, maybe there's a couple guys out there in the White House and at Tesla headquarters that need this movie to really work through their shit right now.
But we want Elphaba and Glinda to get back together. I don't know if we want these guys to get back together, but anyway.
Well,
Shannon, get us out of this.
Wicked for good? Will it be wicked for better? We will find out on November 21st. That brings us to our next trailer, one that I know these two gentlemen are excited about, but we'll go over to Johnny first. It was our first look at FX's Alien Earth. So about 11 years ago, Noah Hawley, writer, executive producer Noah Hawley, famously adapted another film called Fargo, which became a mostly 80% really good 5-season show, more of an anthology. Now he is taking on the world of Alien. We get to see how the first human's consciousness gets implanted into a synth. I mean, we have a shipwrecking with some alien stuff on it. Again, I was never really big into the Alien franchise. I didn't see Aliens in that sweet spot when I was, when I was younger. But the visuals of this show and the storytelling capabilities of Noah Hawley have me super excited. But let me throw it over to Johnny first. What did you think of our first look at Alien Earth?
Yeah, my reaction is up on the channel now as well to this one, and I loved it. I mean, I hopped out of bed this morning to watch this one because I was excited to see it. Because I like Noah Hawley, as you said, Shannon. Legion and Fargo are just two big feathers in a cap for Noah Hawley. So I was excited because it was only teasing. They were only dropping like 21 seconds here, 21 seconds there, and you weren't getting a full trailer. And finally, we got a full trailer here. And I like the young cast that they've put into this. I can't remember I think Sydney Chandler is the name of the main girl, but she looks like a young Carrie Coon. And so the idea of Carrie Coon leading an Alien franchise or someone who looks like her, I was like 100% on board. Timothy Olyphant is perfectly enough in the trailer. But what you're seeing here, judging from the log line, is that there's 5 separate companies that control the Earth, and there are 5 separate creatures on this thing that crash lands. So do each of these companies not only fight for control of each of these creatures, does the world have to deal with them trying to keep these creatures alive? So all of it, plus you mix in the fact that these are synthetic humanoids and they're at this time where they're trying them out for the first time and seeing what this is all about. And you have a human being transitioning into a human. I mean, there's just a lot here that's really interesting that I think Noah Hawley's going to fuck with us below the surface of all of this and maybe occasionally come above board to be a bit overt about it. So I'm very excited. The cinematography, the scenes, the scares, all of it worked really well. So yeah, I can't wait to see this one.
Mikey, as one whose parents let him watch our movies when he was younger, and I know for a fact you played Colonial Marines. What did you think of our first look at Alien Earth?
Listen, I'm just excited for the Alien Fargo crossover. Because that would be that's where the money is, guys. No, I'm really excited about it. What I'm most excited about is what's kind of new about it. Kind of to John's point, the fact that we're taking a human and putting them into a synth body, the fact that we're getting to know that there's other companies other than just Weyland-Yutani, that we know that there's a xenomorph on this ship, but that there's 4 other very aggressive species that are different. And so, it's like what was great about Aliens, which is my favorite Alien movie, is that it took all of the stuff that Ridley Scott did with the one xenomorph and the egg and the face hugger and said, well, who lays the eggs? Who did this? And then you got the queen and you got this bigger world. And so this seems like an opportunity to really take the Alien franchise. And look, I actually have come to enjoy Alien 3 as a Fincher movie, even though I hated it in theaters. Alien Resurrection is a movie. And I really liked Alien Romulus a lot, but I don't know that it really added a whole bunch new. It really got a lot right, but it didn't add a lot new aside from Weyland-Yutani, and you had your synth, and you had your human, and you had your xenomorph. This feels like there's a really big opportunity to tell a really good story in the Alien universe, but add a lot of things to it. And as you guys said, this is someone who has a proven track record of doing some pretty cool shit. So the idea that we are on the verge of not just getting a really high-end Alien TV series to go along with all the awesome Predator stuff that we've been getting, but the idea that this could be an Alien series that spreads the world even wider as far as different types of creatures that do different types of things to humans, and all of them being loose, and is one of them stronger than a xenomorph, or does the xenomorph take control of all of them? Like, there's just so many potential possibilities that I'm very, very excited to see where this goes. And as I've said 1,000 times, as we've been talking about Predator stuff and the Predator movies that are coming out and everything else, like, if you were someone whose parents let them watch R-rated movies in the 80s and you did grow up watching Predator and Aliens, you are living real good right now. So I'm really curious and excited to see what happens here.
Well, Alien Earth. Oh, go for it, Johnny.
Real quick, and there might have been a Predator sound in the trailer because you heard it as like kind of.
Everyone on every version of any Alien and Predator project right now is teasing us. With these ideas about how, and particularly given Predator Badlands having Weyland-Yutani in it, having a synth in it, it's like there's this is again another example of when Disney purchased Fox and everyone was like, everything's going to get Disney-fied, everything's going to get ruined, they're going to do all these bad things. Like, we're going to talk about Star Wars in a little bit, and there's been a lot of good, a lot of bad, but we sure have a lot of Star Wars now in the world today. And we're starting to have a lot of Aliens and a lot of Predators. And so far, most of it, I think, has impressed fans more than not. So I think that what Disney is doing with the Fox franchise, putting stuff on Hulu, all the choices that they're making so far have felt better than where either of these franchises have been in the past decade or so.
Right on.
Well, Alien Earth comes out August 12th on FX and Hulu. That brings us to our third trailer, one that I had read about, hadn't really seen any stills from, but now that I see the footage, 100% on board. That is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. So this one is starring Oscar Isaac as the titular Dr. Frankenstein, Jacob Elordi as the monster, Mia Goth, Christoph Waltz, Ralph Ineson, who we're going to see next month as Galactus. Every once in a while, you get a filmmaker and a story that are so tailor-made for each other that it just kind of knocks your electrified socks off. And that was the case with this trailer for Frankenstein. There have been so many versions of Frankenstein throughout the years, most of them more misses than hits. And again, just based off of this two minute some odd second trailer, this sure feels like a hit. But I will throw it over to Johnny first, being our resident Del Toro fan. What did you think of our first look at Frankenstein?
I mean, absolutely loved it. I had my reactions up as well on the channel if people want to watch that. But like, I had some people comment like, why would he choose to do Frankenstein? Everyone's done Frankenstein. It's like, the man is driven by his creative heart, and he's going to go where he's going to go. And I'd rather have a very inspired Guillermo del Toro who's been desperate to tell this story, like we saw in his Pinocchio and his version of Pinocchio that's animated. That was incredible, arguably just as good as the original, and possibly better, because you get great results from him. He doesn't always knock it out of the park. Crimson Peak, there's been some other films that I haven't 100% been on board with Del Toro, but when he's dialed in, there's not a lot of filmmakers that can match him. And just from this trailer alone, this feels like he's 100% dialed in what he wants to tell in this story. And some people are like, oh, it's a shame we're not going to get this on the screen. Well, look, it's a price we have to pay. Del Toro can't get the dollars he used to get in the past anymore from these studios. So if he's willing to go to Netflix and they're willing to fund the budget at the level that he needs to make his vision a reality, I will take the exchange of having to watch it at home. So, because this thing looks visually amazing. Just cinematic quality from top to bottom. Oscar Isaac looks great here. We didn't get a lot with Jacob Elordi as the monster. Keep teasing that. But clearly this story is about the torture of it all, and it feels very accurate from what I remember of the book. And I don't think a lot of productions have come close film-wise to matching the book. The original is a great one still. Young Frankenstein is a fun little romp, but like there hasn't been any Frankenstein film, in my opinion, that's captured it. I'm hoping this is the one. And Del Toro, who's been doing well with Netflix, kind of creates another classic, another version of this classic that people love.
Johnny, I was actually going to say the same thing. I feel like the past few generations have not gotten a great, true to Mary Shelley's novel, we have not gotten a great Frankenstein story, a great Frankenstein adaptation. Mikey, what do you think? Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, does it look alive?
Are you guys just sleeping on the amazing Frankenstein story that we got in Monster Squad in the 80s? I mean, come on. Like, that was like the perfect Frankenstein. That was so accurate to Mary Shelley's version.
Do not throw Monster Squad at me, sir.
Oh, God. It's so bad. I'll always love it. It's so bad. No, this definitely looks great. Guillermo del Toro is a little bit hit or miss for me. I think visually he is stunning. I think storytelling wise, he sometimes is like a record that skips a few beats in his story sometimes where you're like, oh, okay, that was a choice. But this looks absolutely fantastic. I actually do agree with what both of you were saying. Like, I think that there's been some really solid attempts at Frankenstein, and we do have a lot of good versions, and it's a character that has just taken on almost a life of its own in pop culture. But really getting a story that gets under the bones of what makes this such an enduring myth, I don't know that we've really gotten it. And even though Guillermo del Toro is hit or miss for me, this definitely feels like it could be that. Also, any trailer that gives me a lot of a very sweaty Oscar Isaac running around doing very sweaty things, I'm 100% on board for. So I would, that man with his little curly hair, like plastered to his face as he's running around, like, ooh, it gets me as hot and sweaty as it does when I go to Galaxy's Edge and he tells me that we're a fine looking bunch of recruits. Like, that man is so handsome. So yeah, I'm really excited. I've just reached a point in life, kind of to what Johnny was saying. I don't mind that we get big feature movies with big name talent attached behind the camera and in front of the camera at home that I can watch on my couch. Like, I love going to the movies, and I love that we still get a lot of great movies, and I'm thrilled that movies are doing so well this summer. But if we still get all this great stuff, like, I mean, just from an entertainment standpoint, the fact that we have so much that we get to watch at home and so much that we still get to go see in theaters, like, I feel great about it. I'm feeling good about things.
Yeah.
Well, Oscar Isaac in the Arctic tundra, even in all that snow, which John loves, there's a fine sheen of perspiration on his forehead that Michael Vogel loves. So
something for everybody. Something for everybody.
Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein is going to be on Netflix in November. And speaking of Netflix, that brings us to our last trailer. More of a tease, more of a recap of the first 4 seasons, but we get our first tease for the 5th season of Stranger Things. Again, this kind of shows us kind of the greatest hits of the first 4 seasons. And the big thing that it let us know, or rather it let me know, I don't know if this had been released already, Stranger Things season 5 is literally trying to own the holiday season. Not one holiday, the entire last quarter of the last 6th of the holiday season, because we're having episodes come out Thanksgiving weekend, Christmas Day, and New Year's Eve. Mikey, let's throw it to you first. What did you think of our first tease for Stranger Things season 5?
I'm going to tell you, you would think that given the trailers that we had today, Wicked for Good would be the thing that had me the most excited. And it's up there. But I am so excited to see how Stranger Things is going to wrap up. I cannot tell you, like, this is a show that, while it has not always been perfect, has hit every nostalgia button that I love more than anything else, and has really created this wild universe that, while sometimes we forget about it because it has taken such a long time to get there, like when those episodes are coming out, the way that we all obsess over what's going on, the way that Kate Bush song made that woman millions of dollars because of what happened in season 4. It gets me. And look, I know that so much of what makes Stranger Things work is that 80s nostalgia. They really kind of hit on that. And this trailer is kind of the nostalgia trailer, as Shannon said. Like, most of the trailer is, remember this great part in season 1? Remember how awesome this part was in season 2? Hey, season 3 was the mall. Season 4 was Vecna. It gave you that. And it gave me just enough new information to really be curious to see if they're going to be able to wrap this up. I think one of the things that Stranger Things gets dinged for, I think rightly so, is every season, even though they sort of do always tie it together, it's always some new shiny object. So it was like, oh, we got the Demigorgon. Nope, the Demigorgon was really this because it's really this thing. Nope, but this was really this guy. Nope, but this was really Vecna, and he was tied back to the doctor who was in the thing. And like, it always like, okay, but it always feels a little bit different. So now that we ended season 4 with basically hell on earth cracking open, seeing what has happened in like the year that has passed within the show since the end of season 4 and picking up with all these characters and seeing if they can really stick this landing between Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, I'm excited. I think I might actually be starting a season 1 Stranger Things rewatch starting tonight. Like, I was watching the trailer and I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to go back through all of it. I think I'm just going to ride that wave, and it's going to take me probably a couple months to get through, and then I'll be geared up and ready for Thanksgiving.
Johnny, we've had some thoughts, especially as the kids have gotten older, about some of the quality of acting. A lot of that gets aimed at Noah Schnapp's Will Byers. And he certainly has it is one shot, but it is certainly a very intense shot of him telling people to run. Do you think Stranger Things season 5 is going to land this 80s nostalgia fueled plane? Yeah,
I mean, you speak about this. There it is. And of course, there's 11 yelling as well. So there's a lot of yelling in this trailer. And then you had Winona Ryder with that axe. So a lot of things are changing. I love that she narrated the trailer. You know, Winona sometimes doesn't get the credit she deserves for being such a strong performer in this series and all the hell the series puts her through. You know, Winona rises to the occasion. And so having her narrate this final trailer, I thought was genius, leading to like 20 to 30 seconds of new footage. Not just enough.
Not a lot.
Not a lot, right? Exactly. But this thing busting through the bottom and then Will yelling run, which is maybe some of the greatest acting I've ever seen him do on the show. It was amazing because, you know, we're actors. We watch these things, right? That run is coming from deep in that kid's soul. And he is screaming about the horror that he remembers from season 1 and being in the Upside Down. And that has finally come to pass on Earth. Stuff he's probably hidden, shoved down, not wanting to deal with it. Now it has come to visit him. And there's so much terror in that one word that he's yelling that I was like, fuck, start it right now. I want to jump into it right now. So whatever my issues have been with these kids getting older and we're still supposed to believe they're in high school, I am just 1,000% on board now to see how they wrap this up. And I think there's a confidence in going, we're going to own 3 of the major holidays in the fall with our drops. That's how
they think they got it. They think they got it.
So
Two things off of what you said, though. One, I mean, one of the things, in addition to the new footage, given the fact that Winona Ryder narrates it, and the majority of the narration is her talking to Will about remembering the events that kicked this whole thing off, like the first couple episodes of Stranger Things. If you don't like his acting, I got bad news for you, because I think this dude is central to season 5. Like, I think what happened to Will in the very beginning is going to be the most important part of this. I also have a feeling him being in the closet is going to be a huge part of the story, and what he's been dealing with there, and how he's tied to the Upside Down, how 11 is tied to the Upside Down. Like, I think that's cool. That's key. And the other thing that I really did like in the new footage that we got is, because the kids have grown up and in the world of the show have gone from being 8th graders to seniors in high school, that we do have new young kids. Like, there's the one shot of them sort of protecting the new young kid, the new younger cast. Now, usually when you have new cast members in Stranger Things, they end up dying. But the idea that there's a new generation of younger kids who are like the new Goonies, the new gang from Stranger Things, I think that's going to be an interesting piece of it too. So I'm stoked. I'm real excited. I love this show.
Yeah. Well, The final season of Stranger Things. The first 4 episodes drop on November 26th. You get 3 on December 25th, and then you get the finale on New Year's Eve this year.
Isn't every episode like a full movie?
Like
I think
That's what they had said.
I feel like with, you know, like Stranger Things is like at the opposite end of Star Wars on Disney Plus. Like Star Wars on Disney Plus, they're like, we just dropped a new episode. It's 19 minutes long. And then you go to Stranger Things and you're like, every episode is like an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours.
Here's something to make you feel even older. Priya Ferguson just graduated high school. That lets you know what the situation is there. Someone's first comment is, this is how you know they be taking too long to film this show. I love that. So we will see on Stranger Things. All right, well, let's move on to some other news stories. Thank you, Shannon, for that awesome breakdown of all these trailers. Let's move on to some stories, some combination stories of Marvel. And let's move on to this one here, and that's Daredevil Born Again. There are some conversations going on now that the ratings are causing a little bit of concern going into season 2 for Daredevil Born Again. Back in March of 2025, Disney Plus reported that 2-episode premiere of Daredevil reached 7.5 million views in its first 5 days. That is the biggest premiere of the year to date for Disney Plus. But it was small compared to Agatha All Along, which started with 9.3 million, and Loki season 2, which started with 10.9. Now, comicbook.com reports that the series is the first live-action Marvel show that has failed to make Nielsen's top 10 list of original streaming shows during its run. And look, as we saw from that picture, we're about to get the Defenders, we're about to go the stuff. So what do you think is behind the lower ratings here? And do you think this is something that can be rectified in season 2, bringing back Jessica Jones, bringing back Mike Coulter seems to have teased that he's absolutely coming back now, and whatever they're going to do with the Defenders here with Marvel, or has the Marvel uneven stuff recently, has that kind of caused Daredevil Born Again to get bit in the ass? What do you all think here, Mikey, starting with you?
I mean, Daredevil had low ratings because Daredevil was shitty.
There we go.
I mean, like, we are like, they're all, what does this mean? What does this mean? Like, we reviewed every episode. We really liked the first episode. We liked the second episode. Then we all dipped real hard to the point that we watched an episode that's one of the worst episodes of television that I've seen in recent memory. And then we ended up pretty strong. We ended up, okay, these 2 episodes, but like the wildly different tones, a Marvel show on Disney Plus is automatically going to have a built-in audience for the first one.
Right.
People are going to come see it. And then word of mouth spreads throughout the geek community. And from the geek community, it spreads to the normal community. And the geek community was like very mixed on Daredevil. And the normal community heard from their geeky friends that they shouldn't check it out. Versus Agatha, where people got really into it and excited about it. So I think that, you know, how do they rectify it? Well, they're already rectifying it. They have the right creative team moving forward onto season 2. They're bringing in more big names. They're bringing in more stars from shows that people liked on Netflix. So, you know, I think that we're going to see that trailer for Daredevil Born Again season 2, and we're all going to get really, really excited about it. I think the other thing that's going on, and it relates to some of the other stuff we're going to be talking about, is, are people just done with Marvel? Now, I think what they're trying to do, what Brad Wonderbaum has come out and said this, and Marvel has talked about this, is as opposed to the Disney Plus Marvel shows being tied to the MCU as specifically as we have been doing in the past, they're still part of the MCU, but they're kind of going to do their own thing. Like, you know, Loki got a season 2. What If got multiple seasons, but it was more of an anthology thing. But this is a show that can kind of just, I think in theory, just keep going on its own. Like whatever's happening in the bigger MCU, Daredevil Born Again can just be telling stories about these New York ground-based heroes and just keep chugging along. And I think if they nail that and they get the tone right in season 2 and people are into it, then maybe they will have a show that they can just continue to do that doesn't have to go, oh, well, we have this season, but then these characters went to the movie and then we have this show and then you have this. Like, they're really trying to pull back from that. So I think those 2 things are the smartest things they can do, but it's also not surprising that the show had bad ratings. It wasn't good.
Yeah, well, it started off though millions of viewers less than Agatha and Loki, so that it didn't even start at a good place from which to go from. So it's an interesting situation. Shannon, what do you think? Do you agree with Michael that it's because of the uneven season, or is this? I mean, there was a little bit of damage of Daredevil when he popped up in She-Hulk as well. Regardless of whether you like this, want to defend the series or not, you can't deny that people were very split on his appearance in She-Hulk as well. So what are your thoughts on what happened here? And do you think because the creators of the people know now that the creators who did the last 2 episodes in the first episode are going to be doing all the episodes for season 2, that maybe the ratings will jump back up for this one?
Well, in general, you want to have the same team from beginning to end, because there can be a little bit of narrative whiplash when you are switching the folks who are doing the storytelling. With any show, and we can use The Pit as an example. You want a show to have you want a good premiere. Like, that's what everybody wants. You want the numbers, but you want the numbers to grow. And that's what House of the Dragon did. That's what Game of Thrones did. That's what The Pit did. And what makes those numbers grow is having a good show. And unfortunately, even the first 2 episodes, we were sort of politely like, yeah, Daredevil's back. But the as Vogel said, the Marvel audience, that is a built-in audience. But it is going to start shrinking if the output continues to be sort of average at best. So I'll be curious to see, is the inclusion of this, possible Defenders reunion, is this going to move the needle the way that they are potentially anticipating it? Because if you think back to the Defenders on Netflix, that wasn't good. No, I think it's a great idea that was so underwhelming that Netflix didn't try to do another season of it. Like, every hero got a second season, even Iron Fist, and Daredevil got 3, but there was no interest in returning to that. So it'll be curious to see if this is the antidote to bump the quality up. But at the end of the day, it is going to rely on how good your show is. And if that second season comes out the gate firing on all cylinders, then that audience will grow. And even if the ratings aren't good for season 1, we are getting season 2 regardless. Season 2 is happening. The quality of season 2 will then dictate whether or not there is a season 3.
Yeah. It's a good point you bring up. I totally forgot there was a second season for Iron Fist, and you combine that with Defenders. It's just like a 1-2 punch that kind of maybe sent people tumbling down and not wanting to watch it. So maybe when this came back, people weren't necessarily on board. They wanted to hear how it went first before. And since the reviews, as Michael stated so well, since the reviews weren't good reviews for those subsequent episodes as the first 2, that kind of stopped people from wanting to jump into it. And I imagine Invasion, what was it called? Sorry,
Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion was not necessarily a helpful tool either for a Disney Plus series on that end as well. So yeah, a lot of things. So we'll see. Season 2, we'll see how people respond, because as Michael said, people love the last 2 episodes. So will that be enough to get people back on board? We shall see. Another thing we want to talk about here is Thunderbolts. This Thunderbolts situation, also a little bit disappointing for Marvel. Didn't quite get there overall with its box office. It's around $380 million right now worldwide, and it looks like it's not going to do a lot of damage. And if you look at the numbers for it, I'll bring up this graphic here. As you're looking at it, it's right below, you're looking at all the other big ones like Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers Endgame, Infinity War, Age of Ultron, Iron Man 3, Avengers. It really suffers in comparison to those. So there's people saying this is a little bit of a disappointment, and in the end, it is a bit of a flop, you might have to say, unfortunately. Even though the great reviews and most of the word of mouth was positive, not enough people were interested enough to go and see it, even when they changed the title. So Shannon, what are your thoughts on this with Thunderbolts in the box office?
Unfortunately, this is exactly where Marvel didn't want to be. That you had a good movie, the one of the better movies in the multiverse saga, that didn't perform because of your prior film sort of exhausting the audience's interest. And it's really a shame, because I went and saw it again this week because I knew it was leaving the theater. So I was like, let me go see it one more time. And the people that are in the theater really like the movie. So, you people talk about like if it had been advertised as the new Avengers, would it have gotten more butts in the seats? I mean, maybe. I mean, I feel like by Monday they had pretty much let that out that, hey, they're the new Avengers. If you have a more recognizable hero in the film, would it have gotten more butts in the seats? I mean, maybe. What's going to be really interesting, and I imagine this kind of has them a little worried about Fantastic Four as well,
Yeah.
is when you have a franchise, kind of a waning franchise, and granted, these movies are still making, Thunderbolts and the Marvels, take those out, these movies are still making a lot of money. But when you have a waning franchise, is this sort of, mega brand, are they able to sort of reignite the average movie going audience's passion for it? And that's a big question right now. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how Fantastic Four does. Like, as fans, the whole idea of a 60 set Fantastic Four, we are like, oh man, that's awesome. Most of the people that are going to go see the movie, hopefully, they're not going to necessarily understand why that is so cool. Like, oh, well, the Fantastic Four, they started in the 60s. It's the space race and all this stuff. So it's going to be super interesting to see what happens. And I hope that they do it. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens when like The Mandalorian and Grogu comes out, because not that I would say Star Wars is a waning franchise, but their last at bats in the theater, they made a lot of money. But again, people are not as excited about Star Wars as they used to be. But when I was watching Thunderbolts, I stayed all the way to the end. And the only other two people that stayed all the way to the end were this elderly couple behind me who were so sweet. The guy was a little hard of hearing when they're talking about Sam Wilson. And he says to his wife, Sam, who? And she said, Captain America, Captain America. And then when you see the ship coming in, he's like, what's that, an alien? And then as the ship turns and you see that four, it's like, no, it's the Fantastic Four, the preview we just saw. It was the most adorable thing. And even though the guy, again, couldn't hear everything, this couple super enjoyed the film. And so I think Thunderbolts will really benefit from getting on Disney Plus fast so people can see it.
Look, I think it's unfair for you to call me out like that. I just couldn't make out the four on the side of the ship. And so I needed some help from the Lady Outlaw. So, it's unfair of you.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
You hadn't had the surgery at that point.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Yes, that's it.
That's on me.
How dare you? Michael, your thoughts on these numbers? You want to discuss this. What's your feelings on this? And the reason I brought up those numbers as compared to the other ones, those were the ones that came out in summer and did so amazingly. And now we've moved Avengers and Doomsday and Secret Wars to December, where Infinity War and Endgame each made $2 billion. So what are your thoughts on all of this?
It's funny, I think sometimes we forget, because we've been in this Marvel era for so long, that what Marvel did, no one had done before. Now everyone tries to do it, but this interconnected universe of movies, which if you've read comic books seems like a no-brainer, but a comic book is an artist and a writer and an editor having to knock something out. A movie is hundreds of people and a studio and everything else, and there's a lot more money involved. So, the whole concept of a bunch of movies that all have there's the Captain America movies and the Iron Man movies and this movie and that movie, and they all come together and they all do this thing. That's a big investment. It's a big story to tell.
Yeah.
And so there's we always hear the word superhero fatigue being thrown around. Oh, does Marvel have it? But in the same way that Daredevil, I think, didn't work because it just wasn't a good story. For a giant mega franchise like this to work, the individual stories need to be good, but that bigger story also needs to be good. Yeah. If the bigger story is good, the audience cares. And so I think, look, we all got really excited that Thunderbolts was a better movie than what had come before it. I still maintain that if Thunderbolts had come out in phases 2 or 3, we would have been like, it was good.
Yeah.
But we were so starved for something that felt like Marvel. We're like, oh, finally, this feels good. But the bigger audience didn't come because they don't care about the bigger story. The Infinity Saga got everybody's attention. You think back to that time and your friends that were texting you and being like, that with the way that we were all like, okay, so but where is the Orange Stone?
Yeah.
I think the Orange Stone is here. Okay, which stones? Okay, like where are the stones now? Okay, how many stones are on Earth? Like the conversations that we had about a bunch of fucking multicolored stones and being so excited about what was going to happen, like we were into the story.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if we're into a story in one movie or we're into a story that spans 20 movies. If we're into the story, we're in. And even the most diehard Marvel fan at this point is not actually into this story. This story has stopped, it has started, it has swerved, it has done all these things. Now, we're excited potentially about this Doomsday situation and what it's going to be. As fans, I don't think the bigger world at large is that interested right now. So I think that they have a big uphill battle. And Thunderbolts, I think, here's what I think Thunderbolts did good. It got your hardcore Marvel fan back on track. It got the hardcore Marvel fan to go, okay, you guys have been a mess, but I'm a bit more interested. It didn't get the bigger, wider world on board yet. Like we still are in a place where most people are like, oh God, these Marvel movies, I'm so over them. Now, if Fantastic Four comes out and does what Marvel hopes it does, and then Thunderbolts, to Shannon's point, is on Disney Plus, and people go, okay, I don't want to watch all this garbage, but if I watch Thunderbolts and I watch this, and I understand that in Captain America some stuff happened, but I don't want to watch it because it's a garbage movie, can I be excited? So I think the best they can do is get people a little bit more on track. I don't think that Doomsday and Secret Wars have any hope of doing Infinity War Endgame business. Like, I just don't think that's ever going to happen. But I do think if they can just claw their way back to at least a decent spot, they might have a chance of starting a really new story down the road with this mutant saga. They've got X-Men coming. People are excited about that. It's a fresh start. It's an opportunity to say, you don't have to know what came before. This is kind of a soft reboot you can get on. And if they nail that, they can get people back. But we're just in a place right now where for the past 5-6 years, like it's not been a great story.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. But I will say this, sometimes, and as you said, Michael, it's a franchise with a lot of movies in it. Sometimes when you're kind of straightening things out in a franchise, you're going to release a really great film that doesn't quite do as well as the other films that weren't necessarily that great. Transformers is an excellent example of that, right? Bumblebee is universally beloved, yet it doesn't hold a candle to some of the box office returns to the other films that people don't like. But it was a way of saying to the hardcore fan base, hey, we hear you. We figured it out. We've delivered a film that you guys love for the fans and get you back on board that we're going to do the right thing. Rise of the Beast, maybe not so much, but certainly Transformers 1 was excellent. So you look at the situation here, I think with Thunderbolt, same thing. Marvel saying, look, we get it. We going in this direction. We fixed it. We probably should have put this out before Captain America, but we didn't get the situation chronologically correct here in releasing the films. So it is what it is, but it got really well reviewed and it got a lot of positive word of mouth. We didn't do all the box office, but this could give us momentum going into Fantastic Four. So that's a positive as we're about to see that. So, and speaking of Fantastic Four, let's move to this story next. A new trailer was dropped earlier this week, about a minute, 15 seconds, and it had some extra footage in it that showed Reed Richards and Sue Storm with Franklin Richards there in the bed, or so we assume, and even a shot of them with the crib there looking like something out of Gone Girl. I thought this was a really good trailer that showed you this kind of stuff. So what are your thoughts on this, Michael? I go to you first. What do you think of this Franklin Richards stuff? Where are we going with this? Is this really Franklin Richards? And what's this symbolize, speaking of changing things in the Marvel Universe? Because we know he is possibly the most powerful being ever created in the Marvel Universe in comic.
I mean, we've been saying this for, months and months and months, but if you've read Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars, like, yeah, Franklin Richards important. And it really seems like they are taking that ball and running with it. I mean, this is a family of superheroes, and that's a baby in that family of people with powers. Do the math. It's not just a baby. So I think that, they really kind of kept Franklin in reserve early on, and now they're starting to roll out a lot of Franklin stuff. I think Franklin Richards is going to be not only a pretty big part of the Doomsday Secret Wars story, but I think he's going to be a big part of Fantastic Four. Like, I think that him existing is going to be a important plot point for the movie. I don't think that they're just having Franklin show up and just be there and look at this cute baby and then let's use him later. I have a feeling his existence and potential abilities are going to play a part in the Silver Surfer Galactus story and everything that happens in Fantastic Four.
Let me swing back to you, and then we'll get Shannon's thoughts on both of these. What do you think about some of the people who have pushed back on social media? I retweeted somebody, and they took their post down. I just discovered as I was going to put it up for this conversation about them claiming that Sue Storm can't seem to stand on her own, that it's misogynistic to make her a mom, to give her a baby, to have everything. Even the new popcorn buckets have a crib as one of the new popcorn buckets. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you think it's misogynistic, or is this a bunch of bullshit?
Well, first of all, seeing how Sue Storm has been treated in the past in other Fantastic Four movies, I think that there's way better examples of misogyny in the Fantastic Four franchise. I also think this is one of those weird arguments that people throw out that I'm like, okay, there's a world where if Reed, Johnny, and Ben were out saving the day and Sue stayed home to take care of the baby, sure. But if in everything that we've heard, Sue Storm is not only out there fighting with the boys, but she's in a lot of ways the leader of the team and the lead of the movie. If you're going to say Sue Storm is this powerful female character who we know from what we've been told, Reed's invention sort of changed the world, but she politically and kind of like socially has really become this big important figure. She's one of the 4 members of this world's superhero team, and she's a mom. That's not misogynistic. That's not sexist. Women have babies. They be moms. And there are a lot of really awesome moms that do really awesome things. And so having the only superhero female in all of the MCU that is out there fighting people with kids. I know Wanda has kids. I know it's a big plot point, but she wasn't an Avenger with those kids. That happened after. So I think that this is actually really cool. But okay, I'm a dude and I don't have kids. So if you women want to tell me I'm wrong, absolutely, I'm willing to hear it. But that's my take on it.
You don't have kids, but I've heard you're a bit of a daddy. Shannon, your thoughts on the
it is Pride Month, so your
thoughts on the Franklin Richards sightings and the Sue Storm possibly being portrayed in a misogynistic way controversy here. What are your thoughts?
I mean, one to me that's kind of a silly statement because no one has seen the movie yet. We don't actually know what happens.
There have been test screenings, so some have seen the movie. But
and are these comments a result of those test screenings?
No, not at all.
It doesn't sound like it. So you know what? We might see the movie and come out and be like, "Oh man, that silly comment was actually 100% on point." I don't think that's going to happen. But I think that also speaks to the movie itself. I mean, when you look at how much time is going to pass in this film, like when we see shots of Vanessa Kirby and she is not showing. There are shots where she is showing, and now we have shots where there is very much a baby there. So I'm curious what this actually means for the film, and this has me excited to see what's going to happen.
It probably means about 9 months pass.
I think it's probably less than 9 months.
It's an alternate universe. Who knows how long they're pregnant in an alternate universe? That's a great point.
3 days.
No,
3 days.
It's 4. It's 4. That's right there in the title, Michael.
That was the big reveal. The twist was Fantastic Four isn't about the team. It's 4 fantastic days of pregnancy.
Franklin Richards. What, were you born yesterday? Yes, I was. I think it's, I retweeted it. I thought it seems like an odd place to go. Like the last thing we want to do is shame women for being mothers in the Marvel universe. That's the extension of things of where we're going. And to be honest with you, be realistic here. Marvel wants to appeal to everybody. And what's a big thing within a certain section of our country and our world is this idea of valuing motherhood, valuing the nuclear family. So having an element of that as we move into this phase where a number of these heroes might be having kids. With Wanda, we already saw it. Now we see Sue Storm. There may be more kids coming. It's going to be an interesting thing. We got Young Avengers on deck, possibly. So these are the ways to kind of appeal to a broad base of people and get more people in the tent. Business-wise, it's smart to me from Marvel to do this. And it's going to be exciting to see what Franklin Richards does overall and what the situation will be. Because Franklin, if they stay in the main universe, coming over from another universe, Franklin becoming a powerful alien has a little bit of Superman vibes to it, coming from another universe to be in a main Earth universe. What is that going to be all about when he achieves a certain level?
It's not technically an alien.
Well,
alternate universe is still, he's from an Earth, so he would still be a Earthling, just technically.
Oh no, I love what you're saying, but people are going to go a certain direction. They might play it that way.
Let me explain to you the difference between an alien and a human.
Oh boy, so we'll see. All right, that's all the Marvel stuff. Let's move on to a quick DC story. Shannon, let's get your thoughts first on this. Clayface apparently is coming down to these 4 dudes to play this role here for the DC universe. This is according to My Time to Shine. Hello, George McKay from The Beast that you see up there, Tom Blythe from Hunger Games Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, Jack O'Connell, we just saw as the antagonist in Sinners, and Leo Woodall, who's been in The White Lotus. So you look at these 4 guys, one of them is expected to land it. My instincts tell me Jack O'Connell, but maybe not. What do you think, Shannon? Do you like these choices, and who would you go with here?
I mean, Jack O'Connell is kind of the only one that excites me, and that is because of Sinners. Just because he was just in a very popular film where he was a terrific bad guy. The rest of them, I think Leo Woodall, he was in White Lotus, and he was good. He was good. Tom Blythe, like a lot of and George McKay, I saw 1917 as well. I think my sort of unenthusiastic to some of the responses, I'm just not overly familiar with their work. I mean, so that is where the enthusiasm for Jack O'Connell comes from. My guess is that they would go Jack O'Connell, being under that kind of WB umbrella right now, but we'll see. I mean, if you're leading a show, if you're an English actor and you're leading a show, you're probably pretty good.
All 4 of them are Brits. So what's your thoughts here, Michael? Do you like these choices? Does this give you an idea of where they might be going with Clayface? What are your thoughts here?
I mean, it does a little bit, but I mean, in the same article, Mike Flanagan talked, and granted, the movie's being, there's a director attached. We've got a different writer coming in, but Mike Flanagan talked a little bit about his inspiration, and his inspiration is the 2-part Clayface episode from Batman the Animated Series, season 1, which is absolutely fantastic and is about an actor who has this deformity happen to him and it drives him crazy. And so when you look at these 4 guys, they're not picking the uglies. Like that's four very handsome men.
That's true.
So I think, having these 4 guys come in looking the young, handsome guy, inspired by this arc of these 2 episodes of Batman the Animated Series. Yeah. Like I think we are in for, the story, if not an actor, something like that, but the story of an actor who gets by on their looks and has this horrible, horrible thing happen to them and tries to use this method to keep their face in order, and things get out of hand and they turn into a monster. And that ties in a lot with the body horror stuff that we've been talking about and that we've been hearing about. And so I think that is definitely the direction of all of this. I mean, the other piece of this, and this, I feel like we're a broken record in bringing it up, but a big part of that 2-part episode of Batman the Animated Series is Batman. So again, the idea of, and again, I'm just pulling this from the episode, but an actor who has this body horror thing happen to them, and then they become really disgusting. And what do? In the absence of a hero for them to fight, then it's the substance. And we saw that already this past year. So what else is there to it? I don't know, but I find that interesting. I find that the fact that that's where Flanagan's inspiration came from this story that everybody absolutely freaked out about, is interesting to me.
Yeah. I like these choices. I think they're all fantastic actors. I've seen some of their work. I watched some scenes yesterday of the guys I wasn't too familiar with, and I'm like, yeah, this could be interesting. But I feel like Jack O'Connell's on a run right now. Like he's leveled up as an actor after Sinners. And if you want to get people excited about your low budget horror DC movie, Jack O'Connell is the easiest choice to do that because of the name recognition he already seems to be generating. And the fact that I feel like as an actor, we've gotten to see him grow. And so him to step into a role here. And I imagine there's going to be a commentary about shallowness, about the facial idea. Oh, I was pretty once and now I'm not. What does that turn me into? What's the real ugliness? Is it internally out or externally in? That's going to be an interesting thing to explore in Clayface as well. Yes.
You literally just pitched the substance, but yes.
Right, exactly. There you go.
I mean, like you literally just pitched the substance.
That's true. That's
yeah,
true.
but this is with a guy. Totally different.
Yeah, that makes it way better. Because I gotta tell you something. Women in Hollywood who age might think they have it bad, but it's nothing compared to a handsome guy in Hollywood who starts to get older. He really has it tough.
A handsome white brick guy. Yeah, exactly.
those handsome white guys really have a struggle, guys. That's where the struggle exists in Hollywood.
I say that after we just watched Shannon and I did. I don't know if you're watching it, Mike, but Pierce Brosnan still looking goddamn handsome in Mobland, for God's sakes. In almost in his 70s, right? He's just amazing. Anyway, so does Helen Mirren, just to be fair. Anyway, all right. So that's the DC stuff. Let's move on to some Star Wars stuff. This is our main topic. Let's get into it. This is probably the worst thumbnail I've ever made, but this is the decision here. Dave Filoni, I know it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Dave Filoni and Carrie Beck, according to THR, are possibly the people they're looking at. I know it's terrible. Isn't it?
If you're listening to the podcast, if you can see this thumbnail of these three, it looks like the worst show that ever premiered on the CW. I don't even know.
This looks like it just got handed Canva yesterday. But here's what Hollywood Reporter has to say. Lucasfilm seems likely to follow a path in replacing Kathleen Kennedy despite speculation about outside candidates, including Emma Watts from 20th Century. Insiders say the company seems most likely to promote from within. The current thinking is a scenario where Chief Creative Officer Dave Filoni and production head Carrie Beck, both Lucasfilm vets, take co-head roles. Even as an arm of Disney, Lucasfilm remains in many ways a family business, and as George Lucas' protege, Filoni has been considered a golden boy. But the knock against him, and we've said this on the show, is that he might be steeped in Star Wars lore and risks steering a show into dense mythology that loses a broader audience. He's not the Andor guy; he's the Ahsoka guy. One Disney insider says. One Disney insider. Beck, who joined the company in 2012, knows the ins and outs, but neither she nor Filoni has much film experience, which could be mitigated by Kennedy's continued presence as a producer on certain Star Wars projects, like that new Kinberg trilogy that's coming out, ensuring quality control in the short term. Mike, you've been in these offices, you've been in these places, you've seen executives come in and out. So your thoughts, on this possibility, and what do you think? A three-headed monster, in essence, in charge of Lucasfilm, so to speak? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, if anybody's interested, the entire article is actually really fascinating, just about the succession in Hollywood, how it's always worked. People like vying for the top spots and trying to get into these roles and who's going to be running Hollywood. And one of the bigger points that it makes is we do live in this really interesting time. Hollywood has always worked how Hollywood works, but right now, with the entire industry changing so rapidly, with streaming becoming this thing that kind of blew everything up and now is contracting everything, like there's a lot more fear, there's a lot more uncertainty, there's a lot more concern in the industry right now. And so a lot of people are holding on to those top spots longer than they have in the past. And that sometimes means that those people coming up don't have the opportunity to step in. And I think, you're sort of seeing this at Lucasfilm, which is what we talk about a lot because it's Star Wars focused, but you're seeing it at agencies, at other studios, everywhere. Like, who's going to be that next generation that sort of guides us out of kind of the mess that the industry is in right now. I think what they're trying to do here is a little bit what DC is trying to do. And I think both of those learnings are taken from one. Look, Kevin Feige might have already had his day in the sun. Like, we're going to see where things go over the next few movies. But even if Kevin Feige is going to be put out to pasture in the next couple of years, you can't deny that for 10 years, he drove Marvel to be the biggest franchise in Hollywood ever. And he is a unicorn, or he was a unicorn in the sense that he was an executive who actually had really strong creative instincts. So strong sometimes that maybe he rubbed creatives that he worked with wrong, but those creative instincts helped keep that franchise together. Right. Compare that to what happened with the new trilogy at Star Wars with Kathleen Kennedy, where you had someone who was and like, y'all can say what you want. I just watched an old Indiana Jones movie the other night and her name popped up. Like, the woman knows how to Hollywood, but she did not know how to take what J.J. Abrams was doing here and what Rian Johnson was doing here and say, guys, we gotta build a story. She didn't have the creative. So I think DC looked at that and said, okay, we can't have Gunn do this by himself. He's not a Kevin Feige. We're going to have him and Peter Safran. And that's what they decided. So they sort of started this trend of like, let's have a really strong creative voice, but let's have somebody else too. And I think Lucasfilm looked at Filoni, and I think everybody was like, look, Filoni's probably the guy. I mean, he does have like that George Lucas spirit. He's sort of been blessed by George Lucas and the fans in a lot of ways. Putting him at the forefront creatively makes a lot of sense. But does he get, is he too into it? And he's not like, you don't give the guy in the cowboy hat the keys to the kingdom to go sit in a room with Bob Iger. I think Bob Iger eats him alive. Or is it Joe DiMaggio or whoever's going to take the Bob Iger role, which is another big part of the article. So you do need someone else. But the Carrie Beck of it all, you really do see that like Kathleen Kennedy was such a major presence on the movie side of things that they don't really have someone on that side to step in. So you have these two people that are mostly TV people, and they're going to step up into this role. And do they really have what it takes to do the movie thing? Because again, like I said, say what you will about Kathleen Kennedy, but she's behind most of the movies that we grew up on, or at least a significant chunk of them. And so, I mean, I think the article also makes a big deal out of like, if you have to bring someone in from the outside, you've probably failed. That you really do want someone who's been in there, who knows the system, who knows the people that are in the building, who knows the franchise. And so I think these might be their best two options. That doesn't mean they're necessarily the best options, period. So I don't know. I think it's going to be really, really fascinating. And I also think Filoni's sheen, Filoni came off of Clone Wars. Filoni dove into Mandalorian. We all love Mandalorian. We all flipped out about Grogu. I think Ahsoka maybe took the sheen off a little bit. We'll see where Ahsoka season 2 goes, but I don't know that he has quite the shining star that he had a little bit ago with the fans.
Yeah, this article, it deals with the Hollywood succession wars. It's in the Hollywood Report. It's a very extensive article. It's a great article if you want to catch up on things that are going on in a lot of these companies in Hollywood. It was written by Rebecca Keegan, Boris Kitt, Pamela McClintock, and Alex Weprin. So a lot of people were involved in the Hollywood Reporter to create this article. Shannon, your thoughts on the idea of Dave Filoni and Carrie Beck possibly being a two-headed a chief with Kathleen Kennedy as this kind of like safety net beneath them, executive producing not only the new one that's starring Ryan Gosling with Sean Levy, the Starfighter one, but also the Simon Kinberg trilogy and possibly more. And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first, the thumbnail. The way it looked was Carrie Beck has cardboard standees of Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni in this room, and she's saying, "Hey, look, my coworkers. There's my boss. There's my best guy." We'll kind of find out how well the two-headed, or the concept of like the two-headed monster, how it works after Superman comes out. Because granted, these are 4 different people with 4 different sets of instincts, but having the creative person and the business person, this is this isn't the norm. Like this is, has it been done before? Yeah, probably. But on such a high level, this is a new thing. So Superman comes out and everybody loves it. They're going to be like, hey, this is what we need to do from now on. Right. In terms of them not having a ton of feature experience, I mean, this is kind of a new thing, not just in the entertainment industry, but where these older CEOs are holding on to these jobs with their death grip, and no one is getting experience to take over. I mean, this is a big problem in TV right now, how a lot of writers become producers and executive producers from being able to go on set when their episode is being shot. And that opportunity is not being as afforded as it used to be. So now you have writers who are expected to make this jump with no experience. You know, Carrie Beck, she came what, in 2012, 2013 on the production side, and she has stuck around. So clearly that she likes what she's doing and they like her. So I do understand the reticence on the Filoni side, where what may have worked in animation did not translate to live action with Ahsoka. I mean, when you look at The Mandalorian, he was there with Favreau, who has a lot of experience. And even in Favreau's experience, he has had some misses. He's had some big misses. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And we won't really know until this actually is official, and once the first film under their stewardship actually comes out.
Well, and the other thing, I think, and I mean, you just have to open Twitter and you see plenty of people pointing this out on the regular basis. Kevin Feige, again, is a massive presence over Marvel and probably didn't work well with every creative, but you can tell, let creatives do their thing. The Taika Waititis, the James Gunns, the Ryan Cooglers, like there's definitely the Russos, like he was the executive and then there was the creatives pushing each project. James Gunn cannot get his face out of Superman at all. Like the man is as big a star of Superman as the stars of Superman. So James Gunn is front and center. He's not just the head of DC. He's the guy who wrote and produced Peacemaker. He wrote and produced Creature Commandos. His animated personality is in the opening credits. He's the writer, producer, and director of Superman. So is he the guy that's going to let other creatives come in and be creative under him? Does he have that mode? And Filoni, that's still the same question. Like, yes, Filoni as the guy who did Clone Wars, the guy who did this, the guy who did Ahsoka, that's great. But you're not hiring the guy who's supposed to write and direct Star Wars for the next 10 years. You're supposed to hire the executive who is creative, who knows how to bring in other creatives and give them the tools to tell great stories. And that's where both James Gunn is still a very big question mark and Filoni is kind of a question mark. Like, just because you can do this good doesn't mean you can sit in this chair and oversee these people and let them be good. There's a strong possibility that you're going to stay too involved in the creative and people are going to be like, I don't want to work with this guy.
Yeah, and the other part of this, and this is, something I need to point out, I don't think you guys have said this, is that most of Carrie Beck's work has been with Dave Filoni. So it's not like you're getting someone coming from a different place, right? Just like you mentioned earlier, Michael, with Safran and Gunn, that is in essence what they're doing here. But both of them don't have the best track record live action beyond Mandalorian. And Mandalorian, I just chalk up to Favreau more than anything else. As Shannon was saying, it's Favreau who was involved in that. And yes, it's under Kathleen Kennedy's watch, and Filoni and Beck both worked on it. But a lot of this other stuff is animation that they've done together. So I don't know how much you're getting another person in the room. Do I think Carrie Beck is going to tell Dave Filoni to not do something or to change something? I don't know that I necessarily believe that would happen that way. So is this a way of maybe soft selling Filoni that he's not going to be the only person in charge? It'll be Carrie Beck, but in a way he will still be the only person in charge because Carrie Beck came in under him. So these are the concerns I have when you're putting them both together. I'm not trying to insult either of them. It's pretty amazing to stay at Disney this long and be successful for the most part in Star Wars on the animation side and somewhat on the live action side. Both of them deserve credit for that for sure. It's just that it's still going to feel like it's Filoni with Carrie Beck together doing these things, and she is not an alternate voice to get him to look at different things or look at things. So I just have concerns from the outside because I don't know their relationship.
I was gonna say, I mean, like, you don't know. I mean, like, none of us know. Like, you don't know that Carrie Beck internally is like, Carrie Beck's the one, she's the Filoni whisperer. Like, we have to send her in when Dave's being crazy, and she's the one that can handle him. So when we're thinking about promoting Filoni, we should really have Carrie there because she's the one that's going to keep him in line. Might be exactly why they're doing it. Like, we don't actually know. And again, I think that, and like I said, the article makes this point that, in a perfect world, you do find the people internally. And I think that because these are the two internal names that have been coming up since the beginning, they're in a position where, you know, we can all nitpick to death on our YouTube channels about what they're doing internally at Star Wars. But there's a good chance that these two probably are the best possible choice they have. And it's going to be up to them to prove to the entire world whether they can do it. If they come out and they do a couple things and they have a failure, I promise you Bob Iger's replacement is going to say, okay, it's time to bring somebody else in. So we'll see.
Even if that's if Bob Iger allows himself to be replaced. As the article points out, he was undermining Chapek from the beginning. So this could be an interesting situation when it all goes down. But I think you're right, Mike, and Shannon as well. Like, this is their internal choices. To me, it's like sports. And I know I'm going to make a connection here, but like, you have a assistant coordinator or assistant head coach who is there, a part of it, and has been growing through the situation. Eventually the head coach gets tired or isn't having as many winning seasons. They're going to step down, but still be they're going to move up to be a general manager or an advisor to the team. And then you've got these younger people coming in. Are they going to be able to have success? And if they're not, even with that safety net, they're going to be gone pretty soon. So this is going to be an interesting thing to see these two animation veterans jump to live action for the movies and for other things. And will their voices be the correct voices for Star Wars? We will see, going forward. So it's going to be interesting.
I mean, counterpoint would be maybe you let them cook and they step up to the plate, and all of a sudden 100%. We get a new Star Wars trilogy that comes along and we're like, holy fuck, this is what we've been waiting for. So, I think that kind of to the bigger purpose of what we're all talking, I know we need to wrap up, but kind of to the bigger purpose of what this article says and what we're talking about, this is how Hollywood should work. Like, you work at a company, you work your way up, and whether you were animation to live action, TV to features, whatever, somebody at some point says, hey, I think you've got something special. We're going to give you your shot. And you get your shot, and you fucking take your shot, and you prove yourself. And then everybody says, oh, fuck, they're great. And then you get to go do it. And so Hollywood, like what they're doing internally at Lucasfilm by doing this instead of bringing in somebody else, all things being equal, is the way it should work and is better for Star Wars than if they said, we're worried about Filoni. Ahsoka wasn't great. Carrie's only done this. Let's bring in so-and-so from Sony. Like, I think this is the better way to do it. Let's just hope it works.
But it's going to get muddy, right? Because if this trilogy comes out and it's great, or this Starfighter film comes out and it's great, and they named them as the co-heads, people are going to be like, well, what is Kathleen Kennedy? What is Filoni? What is Beck? Like, you're not going to be able to delineate. They're going to have to do content outside of Kathleen Kennedy executive producing it to prove that they're the people that can do it and get it done. And so we'll see. If the Kimber trilogy is next, we're not going to see what they do live action probably for a bit, because even the
but like also like Amy Pascal still produces every Spider-Man movie. Do we all think that Amy Pascal is the genius behind Spider-Man? Like,
well, no, because Rothman's involved intimately on that stuff, and so's and obviously the director John Watts. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, that's a fair point. All right, well, Shannon, any final words on this before as we wrap up?
I'm good. I'm on vacation.
Get him on the boat. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us here on this supersized episode of the Geek Buddies. We appreciate it. There was a lot to cover with our solo show this week, so thank you so much. Shannon, what do we have to tell the wonderful people watching or listening to us?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's at @geek_buddies, on Instagram at @the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media and say hello while I'm out on the high seas, on Twitter, it's at Shannon_McClung, on Instagram at Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you'd like to follow Mr. Vogel, who will be on the land, it is at MKToon. If you'd like to follow Mr. Rocha, who is close to the sea, but he's also going to be on the land, it is at The Rocha Says.
Mikey.
I hope that Shannon deals with the ocean as well as he deals with video games, and has a wonderful and choppy ride. And meanwhile, you can smash that like button below, subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page, leave your comments below. Don't forget to say bon voyage to Shannon McClung. If you're listening to us on a podcast, go ahead and leave us some stars and some comments so we go up in the rankings and more people can find us. And as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies, especially the ones that are on land.
Yeah, I mean, if parasailing with Shannon is any experience from what I remember, the sea might be a little tough on old Shan once he gets in that boat. All right. Thank you so much, y'all. We love you madly. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, as Michael was saying, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here of the
Geek
Buddies!